Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today I'd like to take a look at this bad boy right here, a game called Smash Up. It's a card game for 2 to 4 players. Card game for 2 to 4 players where you are basically vying for control of different bases, and you get points awarded for each base that you control, first, second, and third place, depending on how much power you have there, denoted by the numbers on the cards. Sounds pretty cool. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, what you'll do to set up is you'll take the base decks. Now, the bases are such that they have a number for first, second, and third place. That's how many points you get if you have the most power at this base when it breaks. 2 is the second place, and then third place. This number up here is the number of power that collectively is there between all of the cards played on that base. You total that number, and that's what you have to have when this base scores. Then at the bottom, you have a special effect that the base will use. All of the cards have that whole thing: first place, second, third place, the number that's necessary to make that base score, and then a power at the bottom that one or more players can utilize. But you'll take your deck of bases, give them a shuffle, and then choose 4 to begin the game with. All right, so we'll start with the Nexus, the Tar Pits, the Temple of Goju, and the Golem Schlosse. All right, so you have those 4 cards that are out. Those are the bases. Then, the next thing that people will do is they will choose 2 factions and smush them together to make their decks. I'm just going to go ahead and take the first 2 that I come by and choose mine. So mine are the Wizards and my dinosaurs. So I have Dinosaur Wizards for my faction, and I will take these 2 decks and smash them together. All right, and then once every player has done that, we can begin the game. My opponent has chosen the time-traveling aliens. Actually, that kind of fits, really. Time-traveling aliens. He also shuffles his deck, and then the game will begin. Once you have shuffled both of your decks, you deal 5 cards out to yourself as your starting hand, and the player who, the rulebook says, got up earlier in the morning goes first. So that's a interesting way to choose the start player. So let's say that I got up earlier in the morning that morning, and I look at my cards. Now, you're going to have, first of all, have 2 different kinds of cards in your hand. You're going to have what are called minion cards, which have a power value at the top of the card and an ability that can trigger at some point during the game. Or you're going to have what are called action cards. Action cards don't have a power. They're just cards that you play that either do something to your opponent or help you. On your turn, you can play 1 minion, play 1 action, or you can do 1 of each, and that's for free. The twist is that some minions allow you to play other minions, some actions allow you to play other actions, and some actions allow you to play other minions. So it really depends on what card you're playing, but basically, generally speaking, you can play 1 action and 1 minion on your turn, and that is it. Okay, so I want to play some cards from my hand. I'm going to go ahead and, well, first of all, I'm going to play this action. It says draw 2 cards. So Mystic Studies. So I draw 2 cards, put it into my hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and play my Neophyte here at the Temple of Goju. This goes away into my discard pile. This one says, after the base scores, place each player's highest power minion here on the bottom of his owner's deck. Usually, when a base scores, after we have reached the power total that's necessary, the minions simply go into our discard pile. But this base specifically is allowing our highest powered minion, to go to the bottom of our deck, which means that it'll come out later on. All right, so I've played one action, I've played one minion. This one says, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is an action, you may place it in your hand or play it as an extra action. Otherwise, return it to the top of your deck. So when I played the minion, the Neophyte there, I draw it. It is not an action, so I return it to the top of my deck. Then, after we place cards, I check to see if any base scores. It doesn't. And then I draw two cards. So I'll draw these two cards, and my turn is over. Then, my opponent opens up his hand. He's going to play an invader. He's going to play an invader here. And it simply says gain 1 victory point. So my opponent now has 1 victory point. All right, so he's played one minion. Now he can play an action, and he's actually going to elect not to play an action because the action that he has here is not very good. He checks to see if a base scores. It does not. He draws 2 cards into his hand, and now it's my turn again. So I come back, and I'm going to play an enchantress here, which says draw a card. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then I'm going to play Portal. Portal says reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Place any number of minions revealed into your hand. Return the other cards to the top of your deck in any order. So I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and turn it over. If any minions there can go into my hand, there are 3 minions which will go into my hand. Anything else is put in any order back on top of my deck. Now at this point I need to check something because you do have a hand restriction of 10 cards. So since I just drew a card, I drew a couple last turn and I drew 2 normally, and then I was able to put 3 more in my hand, so I need to check. There's a limit of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I only have 9 cards, so I'm good. But if you ever have 10 or rather more than 10 cards in your hand at this point, you would have to discard down to 10 and then you would continue. All right, so I've played a minion, I've played an action, I check to see if anything scores. It does not, and now I draw 2 cards. But now, since I have 11 in my hand, I need to discard down to 10. Discard this. All right, now it's my opponent's turn. He will choose to play a jumper right here. And this one says ongoing. When this minion goes to the discard pile from play, you may place it back into your hand. Okay, so instead of this guy going back to the discard pile after this scores, or if he is forced to go back to the hand, he goes back up into the hand instead. All right, so that's my minion, and my action is we're going to play the Disintegrator, which is an action. It says place a minion of power 3 or less on the bottom of its owner's deck. So we're going to take this guy here and place it on the bottom of the deck. That goes to my discard pile. Check to see if anything scores. There's 5 to 2. That's 7. 18 is needed. Not even close. So he draws 2 more cards. Now it's my turn again. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play another Enchantress, which lets me draw a card. I'm going to go ahead and play an action. Some actions actually cause effects for bases, not just minions. So I'm going to play Wildlife Preserve on the Temple of Goju, which says, play on a base, ongoing. Your minions here are at are not affected by other players' actions. So, if I go here, my minions are protected while theirs are not. Okay? That's my action. I've played a minion, and now I check to see, does anything score? No, we're still not even close. And now I draw 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I draw 2. I'm going to discard 1 so that I have 10. This person comes on up, and I'm going to play the Dr. Win over here. It says you may return another of your minions in play to your hand. You may play it again as an extra minion. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take the invader and back into our hand, and then we're going to play it as an extra minion here, and that will get us another point. And we're not going to play an action. Nothing scores. We draw 2, and we continue. All right. So play continues until this base, or until a base scores. Now, when a base scores, let's get to that. Let's say through the course of the game, this is how this base played out. Now, this is pretty heavy, but it's possible. You never know. So I was able to play a total of 8, 10, 12 power along with this power here, so that's 14. And then I was able to play augmentation on my laser bots here, which says that one minion gains +4 power until the end of my turn. So let's say it's my turn and I play it, and that causes this to come up to 18 points because we have 8, 12, 14, 16, 18 points. So now this base scores. Now, what we would do then is find out who has the most. The most is me, so I get 2 points. Boom. Then, second place, it gets 3 points. Then it says, since there's not a third player, this doesn't happen. After this base scores, place each of the player's highest powered minion here to its owner's deck. All right, so this one would go here, but it goes to the deck. Since it's not going to the discard pile, it can't be brought back up into the hand. All right, my highest powered one over here, we'll go ahead and take this one back up into my deck. And then everything else is placed in the discard pile along with the base. A new base is drawn, and then play continues as normal. This is the way the play goes until one player reaches 15 power. And once somebody reaches 15 power, the round is finished. So basically, at the end of any turn where one player has 15 victory points, the player with the most victory points wins. But if there's a tie for the most, you keep playing until there is no longer a tie, because there's no sharing of first place in this game, which is actually a pretty cool thing in my opinion. So that is Smash Up, a really quick, fast card game that plays smoothly but enjoyably. So that, folks, is Smash Up. It is probably one of my favorite card games to play. It has that interaction, that combat mechanic of battling over the different bases that I really enjoy. I seriously enjoy the different factions and how they all have their own feel, taste / flavor to them. And I also like how you can just be really wacky in your combinations and come up with this off-the-wall combo that is incredibly fun to play, but really doesn't do very well. But some of them really work well together. And that does bring up a little thing where you can munchkin in this game, where you can find the factions that work the best, and if you really put your mind to it, you can work out what combination of factions is the best one, or the most probability of winning, or what have you, and you can go that route. But really, I feel sorry for those kinds of people that feel like they have to play games that way. It just saps all the fun. I like just randomly picking two factions and saying, yeah, let's see how it works. The other thing is just it's so easy to play. It's not difficult at all. It can get a little mathy because you have to keep track of how much power is there between all of the different players that have played minions or actions there that affect the minions. Smash Up is one of my favorite games. It's one of my son's favorite games to play. This is a really good family fun that comes in a box. There are other expansions that are out there. I only have 3 of them. There's a Cthulhu expansion that basically adds another level of complexity to it by giving people corruption and that type of thing, or insanity. I don't remember what they call it. But I kind of shade away from that one just because it complicates the game where I don't want it to be complicated. So I've stayed away from that one. The 3 that I have are very good. I have 20 factions in here, and really, if you just buy the base game, you have 8 factions. That's a lot of replayability where you can try different combinations and see how they work together. So Smash Up gets 2 big thumbs up from me. With the only caveat being the mathiness and the munchkining that can happen. But really, quite frankly, those are small complaints. So 2 thumbs up for Smash Up for me. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.